You know, when you hear the words final court order, you kind of think that's it, right? The end of the story, case closed. But what happens when real life, with all its messiness, doesn't stick to the legal script? Today, we're jumping into a fascinating Thai Supreme Court case that really explores that tension between a law that's supposed to be final and a family's reality that is anything but.
So that brings us to the big question of the day. Can a judgment that's officially final ever actually be changed? I mean, it sounds like a total contradiction, doesn't it? But what we're about to see is that the answer has a lot more to do with human circumstances than with rigid rules. Let's dive in.
Okay, so let's set the stage. Our story kicks off with what everybody involved thought was a done deal, a final agreement meant to settle everything.
So here's the quick backstory. We have a couple. They start living together in 2009, and in June 2010, they have a daughter. But not long after, they separate. The mother moves away, taking their child with her. To handle things, by July of 2011, they work out a formal, court-approved agreement. This was supposed to be the solution that let everyone move on.
And on paper, this agreement seemed crystal clear. The mother would have sole custody, the father was officially recognized as the legal dad, and he agreed to pay child support. But here's the really crucial part for our story. He was allowed to visit his daughter on weekends, but, and this is a big but, only after she turned 3 years old. Seems pretty straightforward, doesn't it?
Well, as you can probably guess, what's written on paper and what happens in real life can be two very, very different things. And it wasn't long before the circumstances on the ground started to change in a big way. And this is where that clear agreement just slammed right into a messy reality. The deal was that the father could visit after the child turned 3. But in reality, the mother repeatedly refused to let him see his daughter. She would literally block him from coming into her home. The entire spirit of what they agreed to was just shattered. So from the father's point of view, this wasn't just some small misunderstanding. No, he saw this as a calculated effort to completely erase him from his daughter's life. I mean, he was denied access so many times, he even filed a police report to have it on record. Finally, by March 2012, he felt he had no choice but to go back to court. Now, the mother's defense was purely a legal one, and honestly, it's a strong argument on the surface. She basically said, look, we have a judgment from 2011. It's final, it's a done deal. She argued that the court simply had no power to reopen the case or tweak the agreement. As far as she was concerned, that door was shut and locked. And that disagreement set the stage for a pretty wild ride through the Thai court system, with the case getting bounced from one level to the next. And wow, what a journey! First up, the trial court actually listened to the father's new complaint. They agreed with him and created a brand new, much more specific visitation schedule. But then the mother appealed, and the appeals court completely flipped the script. They sided with her, saying, nope, the 2011 judgment is final, you can't change it. So now you have two courts saying completely opposite things, which means there's only one place left to go, the Supreme Court. Okay, so let's just pause here for a second, because this brings us right back to our big question. Who's actually right? Is a final court order really set in stone forever, or can it be changed when a situation goes so wrong?
And the answer the Supreme Court came up with, the thing that unlocked this entire puzzle, all came down to one single powerful idea that trumps almost everything else in family law: the welfare of the child.
The court focused on this critical legal concept called change of circumstances. Now, this is really important. It doesn't mean the court is going back in time to edit an old decision. What it means is that when the facts on the ground change in a huge way after an order is made, like, say, a parent actively preventing visits, that creates a whole new legal problem. And the court absolutely has the authority to step in and solve that new problem.
And this wasn't just a philosophical idea. It's written right into the law. This quote comes directly from the Act on Juvenile and Family Court, and it basically says that in all matters, the court's #1 job is to think about the welfare and the future of the child. That's not just a guideline, it's the North Star for every decision they make.
All right, so with that principle as their guide, let's get to the final verdict and see how the Supreme Court put all the pieces together.
And the decision was, the Supreme Court sided with the father. They completely overturned the appeals court decision, siding with the original trial court. So, why? Well, their logic was just rock solid. They said, first off, the mother's actions in blocking the father weren't part of the old case. Her actions created a brand new dispute. So the father wasn't asking to change the past. He was asking for help with a new problem happening right now. The court then reaffirmed that the child's well-being is the top priority, and that includes the child's right to have a relationship with both parents. So the trial court was absolutely right to step in and fix the problem.
And really, that's the absolute heart of it. The Supreme Court wasn't rewriting history. It was addressing a new conflict to build a better solution for the child's future. The finality of that old agreement could not be used as a weapon to harm the child's best interests.
And that really leaves us with something powerful to think about. This whole case boils down to one fundamental question. In family law, what matters more? A rigid, fixed agreement made in the past, or the living, breathing, and ever-changing well-being of a child? Well, in this case, the Thai Supreme Court gave us a very, very clear answer.